We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Vav Amud Aleph Meseches Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 56a. This Daf is sponsored by David Grossman. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amud Daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. This Mishnah is dealing with cursing the name of God, and you're having a court case with regards to cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Mishnah now continues, B'chol yom donin es ha'edim b'kinoi. Every single day when they judge this case, so they have the witnesses say it b'kinoi, meaning to say that the witnesses should not actually say exactly what the defendant said, because we don't want the witnesses to actually say that curse of God. Yake Yosi es Yosi. So for example, the way they would phrase it is, Yosi will strike Yosi. They don't use the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they use the name Yosi instead, which is also 4 letters. Nigmar Hadin, then when there's a verdict, Lo Hargan B'kinoi, at that point in time, you can't kill the defendant based just on testimony where they said the nickname, so to speak, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to actually hear from the witnesses at least one time exactly what the person said. Elamotzian Kol Adam Lachutz, rather what we do is we tell everyone who's not necessary to leave the courtroom. And Shoel and Hagadol Shebenein, we ask the greatest of the witnesses, V'yomer Lo, they say to him, Emor Masha Shamata Beferish, you have to say what you heard exactly as you heard it. V'omer, and he says it, V'hadayonin Omdim Al Raglein V'korin V'lo Ma'achin, and the judges, they stand up and they tear their garments and they don't sew back the garments up, they have to leave it torn. V'hasheni Omer, and then the second witness says, Afani Kamo, I heard exactly what he just said. V'ashlishi Omer Afani Kamo, and the third witness says, I also heard exactly what that first witness said. And Rashi explains, V'lahachi nakat Yosi as Yosi, the reason why the Mishnah uses the expression of Yosi hit Yosi, the Dalid Os Yosika, that's 4 letters, Kashem ben Arba Osios, just like the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that is 4 letters, Yud Kei Vav Kei. De'enu Chayiv Ela al Shem HaMiyuchad, because a person is only Chayiv for cursing the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when it's the Shem HaMiyuchad, De'hainu Shem ben Arba Osios, which is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is 4 letters. Umishum de Cheshbono Shel Yosi ke Cheshbono Shel Elokim, and the reason that we use the word Yosi is because the calculation numerically of the word Yosi is the same as the word Elokim. Ulahachi nakat Yakezeh. Now the reason why it says in the Mishnah Yake Yosi es Yosi, the Alfina Lakamon, because we're going to say in the Gemara, De'eno Chayiv at sheyivorich Shem b'Shem, that the person is not Chayiv until he curses the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And on this note, we'll read the earlier Rashi as well. Hai Kinoi, when we use the word Kinoi over here, Lav Kinoi Hashem Kamer, it's not the classic Kinoi Hashem. There are various names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that aren't actually the specific Yud Kei Vav Kei name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but that's not what the Mishnah means. As we just said, we're using specifically Yosi as Yosi. Ela Bezin Mechanin B'divrayim HaKlala Klapi Acherim. It just means that Bezin changes the name. They use a different name, again, when they're judging this case. And Rashi also says, Af Ani, again, those subsequent witnesses, the second and third, they say, I heard what he said, Shamati Kamo, I heard what he said, Vein Sarach Lachzor Ulahaskir Birchas Hashem. They don't need to go ahead and mention that curse of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, it's sufficient if just that first witnesses, if just that first witness says it specifically. And the Gemara says, Tana was taught, Ad sheyivarech Shem b'Shem, like Rashi just said, the person has to curse, again, we're using the word Yivarech, bless, as a euphemism, the person has to curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we just said. And the Gemara says, Menohani Mili, from where do we know this? Amar Shmuel says, to Amar Kravin Nokev Shem, Benokvo Shem Yumas. The pasuk repeats itself. It says, Venokev Shem, and then it says, Benokvo Shem Yumas, and that teaches us it's Shem b'Shem. And Rashi explains, Shem b'Shem could go in Yake Ploni as Ploni, like we just said, Yake Ploni as Ploni, so-and-so should strike so-and-so, the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should strike the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, Yakalel Shem Ploni as Shem Ploni, or the way it could be phrased is, the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we learn that from the pasuk, V'nokev Shem Benokvo Shem, Lahachi Ahadre B'Haikra, that's why we're repeating ourselves in this pasuk, Lomar Lachat Sheyikov Shem B'Shem, that's what it means to say, that again it has to be Yikov Shem B'Shem, you have to curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara continues, from where do we know that this word nokev is an expression of bruche, of, again, it means cursing? How do we know that? As it's written in the pasuk, Mo'ekov lokabo kel. This is a pasuk which is clearly using the word ekov in the sense of a curse. This was by Bilam. And the warning comes from the following pasuk, Elohim lo sakalel. So there, it's a warning not to curse HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Gemara continues, Ve'ema mivrasu. why don't we say that the word nokev actually means mivraz, and mivraz would mean you literally make a hole in something. T'chsiv, as it's written in the pasuk, vayikov chor bedalto, it says in the pasuk that he makes a hole in the lid. Vaz harasim v'hachen, the warning would be from the following, v'ibadatem es shemam, lo sasun kein la'Hashem elokechem. This is talking about you should destroy the names of the idols, but don't do that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe it literally means making a hole in the written name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe that's actually what the pasuk means when it says v'nokev shem b'nokvu shem yumas. And the Gemara says to that, ba'ina shem b'shem v'leka. Well, it needs to be, as we said, you have to do the name with the name. Now, you wouldn't be able to create a hole in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu using the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that cannot be what it means. But the Gemara says, who says you can't do that? Let us say that you have two names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one placed on top of the other, and then you make a hole in that. And the Gemara says that wouldn't suffice. That would be making a hole and then making another hole. That would just be doing the same thing twice. You wouldn't be using the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu against the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Gemara continues, well, maybe what you did is you carve the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the mouth, so to speak, of the knife, and then you use that knife to cut a hole in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That would be the name with the name. The Gemara says, no, that wouldn't qualify either. That really is just the sharpness of the knife that's doing the work. It's not the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Gemara continues, Ema Ferushe Shemehu. But maybe we should say that what it just means, the pasuk means V'nokev Shem, it simply means saying the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You simply say it, you pronounce it, and you say the explanation, so to speak. And maybe that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. T'chsiv, as it's written, Vayikach Moshe v'Aaron es ha'anashim ha'ila, asher nikvu b'shemos. There, the word nikvu is talking about expression. It's talking about those who are designated by particular names. V'azarasei mehachen, the warning should be from here, as Hashem Elokecha that you have to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You shouldn't say the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how do we know that that's not what it means? And the Gemara says to that, Chada number one, the Ba'ina Shem B'Shem V'Leka. Again, it needs to be the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's not true in this case. V'yod, and further, Havalei Azhar Es Aseh. If the warning is from the pasuk of Es Hashem L'Kechatira, that's actually a positive. That's phrased in the positive sense, a warning in a positive sense. V'Azhar Es Aseh Lo Shema Azharan. If you have a warning in a positive, that's not called a warning. And the Gemara continues with another answer. If you want, I could say another answer. Amar Kra, the pasuk says Vayikov Vayikalel, and the pasuk, according to the Gemara's understanding, is actually translating the word Vayikov. What does Vayikov mean? It means Vayikalel. It means cursing. The Gemara says Lememra de Nokev Klolahu. That's to say, again, that Nokev is a klala. It's a translation of the word. The word Vayikov in the pasuk means klala. It means to curse. But the Gemara says, who says? How do you know to understand the pasuk that way? V'dil ma'ad da'avid tarvayu. Maybe you have to do both. Maybe it means to say Vayikov, Vayikalel, both things were done in that situation. They're two separate words. And the Gemara says, Lo sakadaitach, don't think that. T'chsiv hotzei es hamakalel. It says, take out the one who cursed. And v'lo ksiv hotzei es hanokev hamakalel. It doesn't say take out the one who was nokev and makalel. And so you see, it's really all one thing. These two psukim are written right near each other. It's in the same episode. The full pasuk, the first we quoted, is Vayikov ben ha'isha ha'yisraelis as Hashem v'yikalel. This is by the makalel. It says that the ben isha ha'yisraelis, he was makalel. Vayaviu so Moshe v'shem imo shlomis bas divri l'matei don. The name of his mother was Shlomis bas divri. And then the pasuk says a little later, hotzei es hamakalel. It doesn't say again. It doesn't say in this situation hotzei that you should take out the person who was the nokev and the makalel. It just says hotzei es hamakalel. So you see, the makalel is simply a translation of what nokev means. And the Gemara says shma mina chadahi. We see from here that it's all the same thing. That again, nokev is translated as makalel. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, the rabbis taught, Ish, it says in the pasuk, Ish, this is the pasuk right before V'nokev Shem Hashem, that person is most yumas. The pasuk says, the full pasuk, Vel B'nei Yisrael Tadaber Lemor Ish Ish Ki Yakala Lolokav V'nasa Cheto. It uses the word Ish twice over here and says again that it is a sin to curse HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So again, the Bryce says Ish. It says in the pasuk Ish Ma Tamid Lomar Ish Ish. Why does it say it twice? Ish Ish. L'Rabo says Ovdei Kochavim. What it's coming to include is even the idol worshippers, the non-Jews, Shemuzharin Al Birchas Hashem Ki Yisrael. They are warned against cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just like Jewish people are warned. Ve'eino Neheragin Ela B'Sayif. But for them, the death penalty is Sayif. The death penalty is going to be by the sword. Shekol Miso Hamur B'Vnei Noach Ein Ela B'Sayif. Because anytime you have Misa by B'nei Noach, by children of Noach, by non-Jews, that Misa is B'Sayif, is with the sword. And Rashi explains ish ish bebirchas Hashem because of ish ish ki yakalel elokov. Again, by birchas Hashem, by cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what it says. It says ish ish. And then the Gemara said, Eina elosayif, that the punishment, the death penalty for the Bnei Noach is with the sword, dichsiv behu, because it says by the Bnei Noach, ba'adam damo yishafech. It says the blood will be spilled, umisa acheres lohuzkor b'hem. There's no other misa that's ever mentioned by non-Jews, and so therefore you understand that the misa is going to be sayif. But the Gemara continues, V'ham mehacha nafka, but is that really learned from here? Mehasam nafka, but it's really learned from over there. Rashi says, V'ham mehacha nafka, da'akum muzharn al birchas Hashem. Is this really the warning that non-Jews are warned against cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's really the source from ish ish. Isn't it learned from the following? It says in the pasuk Hashem, we'll see Rashi in a moment, but it says in the pasuk Hashem, Zu birchas Hashem. That refers to birchas Hashem. Now, the full pasuk that they're quoting over here is in Bereshis, where it says, "Vayetzav Hashem Elokim al ha'adam lemor," that Adam was commanded by Hashem, "Mikol eitz hagon achol tochel," you can eat from all of the trees of the garden. And Rashi explains, Hashem zubirchas Hashem lekamei darshinon. Later on, this will be darshan vayetzav Hashem Elokim, that there was this command, that it's a reference to birchas Hashem applying to Bnei Noach. And the Gemara, or in this case, Bnei Adam, again applying to non-Jews. And the Gemara continues, if that's the source, again, so we have a contradiction. What is the source that non-Jews are not allowed to curse HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says, Lo nitzrucha elo l'rebusa hakinuyin. The reason why you need two psukim now, because at this point in time we have the pasuk from Parshas Bereshis, and we also have ish ish, so why do we need two psukim for birchas Hashem, for Bnei Noach? And the answer is, we need it for the inclusion of the kinuyin of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The aliba de Rabbi Meir, according to the shita of Rabbi Meir, that it doesn't have to only be the Shem HaMeforish, it can be other appellations of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well that are included in the warning and the prohibition against cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As Rashi explains, Lo nitzrucha hai ish ish. The reason why we need this ish ish, again, if we already have birchas Hashem from Parshas Bereshis, why do we need ish ish? We need that el rabos hakinuyim to include these appellations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shiwa akum muzharim al birchaso, that non-Jews are warned against cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu using the kinuyim ki Yisrael, just like a Yisrael. That's Rabbi Meir Shita, that applies to Yisrael. Di me hasam hava amina, because if you only had that first source, I would have said Shem HaMiyuchad Dafka. I would have said it's only the Shem HaMiyuchad. Dechsiv Hashem, because it says Hashem. Dehai Elokim Devahu Krola Azharas Avodah Zara Tashin Leila Kaman, because the word Elokim in that pasuk, so that word is actually talking about Avodah Zara over there. So that would not be used for the appellations. That would not be used for the kinuyim. And so therefore, again, you need this second source. The second source is coming and saying that it applies to the kinuyim as well. And the Gemara said, V'aliba de Rabbi Meir. The Gemara said that if we're including the kinuyim, that's according to Rabbi Meir, Misukma, we're following Rabbi Meir, that because the assumption is the Mechayiv Yisrael ala kinuyim Mehai Kra. Because Rabbi Meir says, this very same pasuk says that Yisrael, the Jews also, are Chayiv on the kinuyim, V'asa ishish lahashvos of the kochavim Yisrael b'chol hani kinuyim. And the point would be to say that non-Jews and Jews are the same when it comes to the kinuyim. And what are examples of kinuyim? Kagon Elokim, Shakai, Tzivakos. Those are examples of kinuyim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once again, Rashi points out, it's not the same as the term kinuyim in the Mishnah. To katani yaka yosi as yosi, to kinoi, there the example is yosi as yosi. To katani masnisin don es edim bekinoi, lav kinoi hashemu, kidafarshin el. That, the term kinoi over there is not referring to kinuyim like Elokim, Shakai, and Tzivakos. There the term is being used in a slightly different fashion. And the Gemara continues, the Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, this is the source where we're going to find the Shita of Rabbi Meir. It says in the pasuk, again, the same pasuk, ish ish ki yakala elokav and nasa cheto. It says when a person curses HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a sin, he'll carry a sin. Matam lomra, what does the pasuk say that? V'alo kvar nemar v'nokev shem Hashem. Mos yumas, it already says v'nokev shem Hashem. Mos yumas, it seems to be the same thing. And so lefi shenemar v'nokev shem mos yumas yachol lo yechayev el al shem hamiyuchad bilvad. If it only said v'nokev shem, so then I would say maybe you're only chayev on the shem hamiyuchad. Minayin l'rabos kol hakinuyin. From where do we know to include all of the kinuyin? That's this exact same pasuk. Talmud lomer ishki akala lelokov mikol makom. It says ishki akala lelokov. It doesn't matter. It could be the kinuyim as well. Divrei Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. The Chacham are going to understand the pasuk differently. The Chachamim say no. Al shem hamiyuchad b'misa. When it comes to the shem hamiyuchad, so there we say there's a death penalty. V'al hakinuyin bazhar. But when it comes to the kinuyin, so then we just have a warning, but we don't have the death penalty in that situation. And Rashi explains, Al Shem HaMiyuchad D'Achsiv Hashem V'Hainu Shem HaMiyuchad. Again, it says Hashem, that means the Shem HaMiyuchad. D'Achsiv Zeh Shemili Olam. It says, this is my name forever. Ki Yakalel Elokav. And then again, the pasuk says, cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. D'Hainu Kinoi. That's an example of a kinoi of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Lav Shem HaMiyuchad. That's not the Shem HaMiyuchad. V'Samach Le Misa V'Nokev Shem Hashem Mos Yumas. Right there it says the Misa. The idea being again that the death penalty applies. V'Koinami Achi Yakalel Elokav. It goes on Ki Yakalel Elokav as well. It goes on the kinuyim as well. But the Chachamim say Al Shem HaMiyuchad b'Misa. On the Shem HaMiyuchad, then there's a death penalty. Kedachsev v'Nokev Shem, like it says v'Nokev Shem Hashem. V'Hai v'Nasa Cheto Lav Misa. When it says v'Nasa Cheto, that's not talking about death. Ela v'Nasa Cheto Dekaris. There's just talking about kares. V'Ala Kinuyim Bazar. And again, if it's kinuyim, it's a warning. Elokim lo sakalel af ala kinuyim. You can't curse even with the kinuyim. Nizar, that's the warning. V'Shem HaMiyuchad nami b'Hazar nafik. And the Shem HaMiyuchad also, that's included in that warning. T'chol Elohim Lashon Sarara, because anytime the word Elohim is used, that's a language of Sarara, of authority. Kimo Nisatich Elohim, just like we find in the pasuk where it says Nisatich Elohim, referring to the fact that he is a leader. And the Gemara continues, Upliga de Rabbi Meisha, and this argues on Rabbi Meisha, the Amar Rabbi Meisha, because Rabbi Meisha says, Ben Noach sheberech es Hashem b'kinuyim, if a Ben Noach, if a non-Jew, curses the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even the kinuyim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, l'Rabbanan chayiv. According to the Rabbanan, we say chayiv in that situation. And Rashi explains, Upliga de Rabbi Meisha, Had Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, meaning that which Rabbi Yitzchak said, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha said, l'Rabos es HaKinuyim, that we include the kinuyim, v'aliba de Rabbi Meir. He said that non-Jews are included in kinuyim, according to Rabbi Meir, who includes Jews in the death penalty by kinuyim as well. So demashma, so what Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha implies, hal Rabbanan potter ben Noach ala kinuyim. It sounds like, according to the Rabbanan, we would say, just like a Jew is potter by the kinuyim from the death penalty, so to a ben Noach is potter by the kinuyim. That idea, Pligad Rabbi Meisha argues on what Rabbi Meisha says. The Iu Savar, because he holds, Alfagav the Amri Rabbanan ala kinuyim ba'azhara b'Yisrael, even though the Rabbanan say by the kinuyim, it's just a warning for Jews. Nevertheless, a non-Jew by kinuyim would still be chayiv misa. By non-Jews, everyone would agree, according to Rabbi Meisha, that there's a chayiv misa. Michager ucha ezrach. It's from the pasuk of kager ke'ezrach. Minachsiv ger ve'ezrach yisera. It says that it's an extra phrase. Shma mino lechiyuve ovid kochavim b'kinuyim. We see from there that again the non-Jew is chayiv by kinuyim. Again, as the Gemara says, Upligad Rabbi Meisha, again, this Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha argues in Rabbi Meisha, the Yom Rabbi Meisha ben Noach sheberach es Hashem b'kinuyim l'Rabbanan chayiv, because Rabbi Meisha says if a ben Noach again curses the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the kinuyim according to the Rabbanan chayiv, in my time, and what's the reason? As Rashi just said, the Yom Kruk, because the pasuk says, Kager ko ezrach, it says Kager ko ezrach, ger ve'ezrach hu de ba'inon benok v'shem, by a ger and an ezrach, there we need benok v'shem, meaning to say there we need it to be the shem hamiyuchad, to be the death penalty, avalovid kochav. But when it comes to a non-Jew, afilu b'kinoi, then we would say there's a death penalty even with the kinoi. But the Gemara continues for Rabbi Meir, but what about according to Rabbi Meir, who says by the kinuyim, both Jews and non-Jews, there's a death penalty. So then, hai keger ke'ezrach ma'avidle. So what is he going to do with keger ke'ezrach? He obviously is not going to use it for what the Rabbanan use it for, because according to the Rabbanan, again, the whole point is to say that only by ger and ezrach do we say that the death penalty applies only to the shem hamiyuchad, but by non-Jews it applies even by kinoi. Rabbi Meir obviously cannot use it in that fashion because he says that Jews and non-Jews are the same in this regard, and he says in general by kinuyim as well there's a death penalty. So what does he do with ger and ezrach? And the Gemara answers, ger ve'ezrach b'skila. What he learns is as follows. A ger and ezrach, when we're talking about Jews, there we say skila. Avalovet kochavim b'sayif. But that's coming to say that by non-Jews, the death penalty is sayif. That's the distinction that the pasuk is making. Because one might have thought, hoil v'israbu, once they're included, and they're treated like Jews with regards to this halacha, so maybe they're treated like Jews in all regards. Maybe they're skila as well. So kamash malon, that's what it's teaching us, that no, the death penalty is sayif when it comes to ovid kochavim. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha aliva the Rabbanan, and the Gemara says, what about Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha according to the Rabbanan? Hai keger ke'ezrach ma'avidle. What is he going to do with keger ke'ezrach? And Rashi explains, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha aliva the Rabbanan, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha according to the Rabbanan, kevan damri Rabbanan ovdei kochavim peturin min hakinoi ki Yisrael. If the Rabbanan, according to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, are saying that a non-Jew is potter by kinuyim just like a Yisrael, so ger ve'ezrach mai kamimati, what is ger ve'ezrach coming to exclude? Ilamutinu miskila, it can't be to exclude from skila, because there's no death penalty. Lo itzrach, that's not necessary. To mehechatesi, why should you think that? Halo israbu, but parshas are here, they're not included in this parsha. To bishlam Rabbi Meir, makes sense according to Rabbi Meir, because you could say according to Rabbi Meir, once we're including non-Jews and we're saying that they're chayav the death penalty, maybe we would say it should be skila, so we understand the exclusion. But again, according to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, according to the Rabbanan, we're in this situation of kinuyim, there is no death penalty for both Jews and non-Jews. What do they do with ger ve'ezrach? And the Gemara says, ger ve'ezrach hu deba'inan shem b'shem. What it means is that by ger and ezrach, by Jews, so then we say that you need it to be shem b'shem, to curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aval ovid kochavim, but when it comes to the idol worshippers, to the non-Jews, lo ba'inan shem b'shem, that's not needed. We don't need shem b'shem. And the Gemara continues, ish lamali, according to the Rabbanan, why do we need the word ish twice? And to that the Gemara answers, Dibra Torah Kaloshan B'nei Adam, the Torah speaks according to the way that people speak. And Rashi explains, Ish lamali, bein l'Ravi Meisha, bein l'Ravi Yitzchak Nafcha, ali b'derabbanan. And this question is whether we're following Ravi Meisha or whether we're following Yitzchak Nafcha according to the Rabbanan. It's going to come out as follows. Birchas Hashem, when it comes to cursing the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu by non-Jews, mi v'yitzav Hashem Elokim Nafka. That's learned from v'yitzav Hashem Elokim. That's the pasuk in Bereshis. And Kinuyim, when it comes to the Kinuyim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mi ger ve'ezrach nafki l'Ravi Meisha. According to Rav Meisha, that comes from ger ve'ezrach. Ve'ilu Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, and with regards to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, ha'amar l'Rabbanan petur, and according to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, according to the Rabbanan, we say that the non-Jews are actually patur when it comes to the kinuyin, and so therefore, again, according to the Rabbanan, in all scenarios, we need to know what that extra word ish is for. And the Gemara again says, Dibra Torah Kiloshan B'nei Adam. And the Gemara continues, Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Sheva mitzvahs nitztavu B'nei Noach. There were 7 mitzvahs that were commanded to the B'nei Noach. Dinin, the first one is Dinin, which is laws or courts. Ubirchas Hashem, and the prohibition against cursing the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avodah Zarah and Avodah Zarah. Giloy Arayas and Giloy Arayas. We'll see Rashi in a moment. Ushvichas Damim, and murder. V'gezel, and stealing. V'ever min hachai, and eating the limbs of living animals. And Rashi explains, Sheva mitzvahs yolef lula kamon. We're going to learn on Amud Beis where we know these 7 mitzvahs from. The Giloy Arayas kulan chutz minara hamorasa. All of the cases of Giloy Arayas apply to non-Jews except for Nara hamorasa. Kedechsiv gabe Avimelech, like it's written by Avimelech in Chames al Isha sholakachta vihi bu'ulas baal. Bu'ulas baal yesh lehem. They have idea of bu'ulas baal. If she's with a husband, that they have. But Nara hamorasa ein lehem. But there's no halach of Nara hamorasa, which is specifically when she is betrothed. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Vav Amud Beis.